I should have known something was off the moment Natalie offered to plan the trip. Just a little reset, she said, flipping her glossy hair over her shoulder like the idea had floated down from the universe itself. You need to unplug. Trust me. And I did. That was the problem. After the divorce, after losing my job at the agency, I didn't have the energy to argue. When someone throws you a rope, you don't question the color, you just hold on. So when Natalie booked a week-long digital detox and wellness retreat in Bridgehaven, some sleepy California coastal town I'd never heard of, I said yes. I packed a duffel, turned on my out-of-office reply, and told myself maybe I'd come back a little lighter. We drove up together in her boyfriend's oversized electric sub. Chase, Natalie's latest project and an aspiring lifestyle podcaster, narrated the road trip on Instagram the entire way. Sunset resets with Soul Fam, he said into the camera, flashing his teeth while Natalie leaned over to kiss his cheek. I mostly stared out the window and tried not to let the cinnamon vanilla scent of her essential oils make me carsick. The first day in Bridgehaven was uneventful. The Airbnb was all white linens, rattan furniture, and strategically placed succulents. Chase called it minimalist luxury. Natalie called it a vibe. By day 2, they'd already planned a yoga session by the cliffs, a silent tea ceremony, and a group meditation with a local sound bath healer named Corbin, who wore linen pants and didn't blink much. I tried. I really did. I stretched and drank and listened. I sat in silence with a group of women. I didn't know all of them, with matching nail colors and unread books tucked into tote bags that things like leave me alone. But I didn't laugh, not really. Not even when Chase played that audio of a goat screaming on repeat. Come on, Jamie, Natalie said, nudging me with her elbow. Smile a little, you're allowed. It sounded more like a warning than invitation. Then came the morning everything cracked. We had just finished yoga, the kind where everyone groans and says they feel open, but no one actually sweats. The group wandered back to the van park near the bakery, and I paused to adjust my shoelaces. When I looked up, the van door was already sliding shut. I waved. Hey, hold on. The tires crunched over gravel. I jogged a few steps after them, half laughing, assuming someone would yell, just kidding, or at least slow down. They didn't. The van rolled down the hill and out of sight. I stood there on the edge of a cobblestone street that smelled like sea salt and wood smoke, holding a half-empty water bottle and the strap of my canvas bag like it could anchor me back to whatever version of my life had just driven away. At first, I thought it was a prank. Natalie loved theatrics. She once fake cried at our cousin's engagement dinner to get out of giving a speech. Chase had a whole section of his podcast devoted to resetting resistance through discomfort. Maybe this was part of the wellness experiment. A social test, some performative self-help stunt. I waited 5 minutes, then 10. Nothing. I checked my phone. Dead, of course, no charger. Natalie had promised she packed a spare. You always overthink, she'd said, rolling her eyes while stuffing crystals into a Ziploc bag like they were breath mints. I reached into my bag, no wallet. Just a granola bar, chapstick, and an old receipt from Trader Joe's. I must have left my wallet in the van, tucked into the seat pocket next to my sunglasses. I had maybe $60 in cash. I tried to laugh. A weird, brittle sound. But it crumbled in my throat. There was a small bench nearby, next to a bus stop sign, so faded it might have been decorative. I sat. I waited. I told myself they'd be back. But they didn't come. What came instead was a notification. My old agency Slack account logged me out. I refreshed. Nothing. I opened my email and saw an automated message from HR. Your access credentials have been deactivated. Thank you for your time with us. And then the worst thing. A video sent by a friend I hadn't spoken to in weeks. No subject line, just a link. I tapped it. The footage was shaky, like it had been filmed through a half-zip backpack. It showed me yesterday, I think sitting outside the cafe, eyes red, rubbing my temples. Then another clip of me pacing near the cliffs, muttering to myself. Overlay text in white, floating like a diagnosis. When they won't accept help. Chase's voice, spliced from an old podcast episode. We tried. But you can't save someone who won't help themselves. Music played under it, soft piano, dramatic, fake as hell. The comment section was already piling up. She looks unstable. Poor Natalie, what a burden. This girl needs serious therapy. I closed the tab. I sat on the bench with the ocean breeze picking at my jacket sleeves and my throat filling with a quiet panic I couldn't swallow. This wasn't a mistake. They hadn't just forgotten me, they'd left me. They'd decided who I was and started telling the world before I even knew the story had begun. I stood up slowly, heart pounding, and started walking toward the town center, not because I had a plan, but because I didn't want to look like someone who'd just been abandoned. I wanted to look like someone with purpose, like I belonged here. Even if everything in me was screaming that I didn't. Lorraine never asked why I showed up at her bakery looking like a forgotten suitcase. She just glanced up from behind the counter, hands dusted in flour, apron smeared with what looked like blackberry filling, and motioned toward a wooden stool near the back. No words, just a tilt of the chin and a kindness that didn't need translation. I sat. My knees trembled like I'd been running, even though all I'd done was walk in circles around Bridgehaven, trying to pretend I wasn't lost. The bakery smelled like rising dough and cardamom. It anchored me just enough to breathe. Eventually, she brought me a chip mug of something warm, maybe tea, maybe just hot water and lemon, and a single croissant on a napkin. I murmured thank you, and she nodded once before returning to her dough like this was routine. Like women just showed up wrecked sometimes. I spent the night in a small storage alcove behind the bakery's kitchen, curled under a stack of aprons and still wearing the leggings I'd sweated through in yoga. The next morning, Lorraine handed me a broom and gestured toward the front. That was her way of saying I could stay as long as I was useful. I was grateful for it. Usefulness was safer than sympathy. The bakery didn't have Wi-Fi strong enough to stream, but it was just enough to nudge my phone awake. I scavenged a charger from a donation box Lorraine kept near the register. The cord was cracked and wrapped in masking tape, but it worked. Slowly, my phone booted to life. 17 new messages. My hands hovered over the screen like it might burn me. I wasn't sure if I wanted to know, but curiosity is louder than fear. A message from my mother. Natalie says you're not feeling well. Please don't isolate. We love you. ADM from a former coworker saw that clip Chase posted. You okay? Looked intense. A group text from Natalie and Chase, both silent until now. Hey girl, hope you're finding your clarity. Let us know when you're feeling aligned again. XX. I nearly threw the phone across the room. They were already rewriting it. In their version, I wasn't left behind. I chose space. I needed grounding. I was the problem. They were just concerned citizens. I opened my email next. Spam newsletters, job listings I'd forgotten to unsubscribe from. Then I saw it. A forwarded message chain. Subject, remote design lead opportunity, reaching out again. The sender was Mia Evans, my old mentor, the one person who told me I had an eye for storytelling through space, how to use color and light to make people feel things. Mia had offered me freelance work months ago, and I'd been too deep in divorce paperwork to take her up on it. But this was new. Her first email from 3 weeks ago read, Hey Jamie, hope you're doing okay. I have a client looking for someone with your background, eco design, hospitality spaces, full creative freedom, interested. The second email came 4 days later. Just checking in. No pressure, just thought of you. The third was a final nudge. Guessing it's a no, but worth a try. Hope you're well. Then came the last one, a forward from Mia to someone else. FYI, Jamie passed. Said she's stepping back from client work. Bummer. And there it was. A reply I never wrote. I clicked into it. The language just off. Formal, stiff. Thank you for thinking of me, it read. I've decided to pivot away from freelance design for personal reasons. Wishing you the best. That wasn't me. I don't say pivot. The email had my signature, my tone, my name, but it wasn't my voice. Someone had answered for me. I opened my password manager and felt a cold drop of realization trickle down my spine. Months ago, maybe a year, I'd given Natalie access to my accounts just in case we were organizing shared deals during the divorce. And she'd said it was easier if she helped sort through the subscriptions and tax docs. Back then, I thought control looked like letting someone help. Now I saw what it really was, ownership disguised as concern. They didn't just leave me behind. They'd shut the door, locked it, and tossed the key into the ocean. My chest tightened with something between grief and fury. Lorraine noticed. She was restocking a shelf of jam jars, and when she glanced over, I must have looked like I'd seen a ghost. Trouble? She asked. Her English was crisp, careful, the kind spoken by someone who'd worked at it. I nodded, unsure how to translate digital sabotage into something small enough for words. They used my name, I said slowly, told someone I wasn't interested in work, pretended to be me. She stared at me for a moment, then walked behind the counter and came back with a notebook old, spiral bound, the kind kids use in middle school. Right? She said, handing it to me. Whatever they took, write it down so you remember. I opened the first page. The paper smelled faintly of cinnamon. I wrote, they took my job. They took my name. They took my voice. Then I added a fourth line, darker. And they made the world believe I gave it all away. That night, I sat on a stool in the corner of the bakery's kitchen, staring at the email chain until my eyes blurred. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just recalibrated. Natalie wanted me gone. Chase wanted a narrative. And the world would eat up any story delivered with enough hashtags and filters. But I had something they didn't expect: receipts, screenshots, metadata, original files, drafts saved under timestamps that proved what was mine and when. I had a trail, even if it was messy. I created a folder on Lorraine's old laptop and labeled it in all caps, receipts. It wasn't revenge I wanted, it was reality. Not just for Mia or my job or the strangers on the internet. For me, I needed to know I still existed, not in their version, in mine. The next morning, I woke to the sound of rain tapping gently on the bakery's back window and the faint scent of orange peel. Lorraine was already up, humming low as she folded dough over itself with the focus of someone who knew exactly what mattered and what didn't. I sat at the corner table, her old laptop in front of me, notebook beside it, and a fresh cup of black tea warming my hands. The folder labeled receipts sat on the desktop waiting. I hadn't opened it yet. Just knowing it existed had helped me sleep. By mid-morning, I had screenshots of the fake email to Mia, timestamps from my design files, and a copy of the Slack notification from my old job. Every piece was small, but together they felt like the shape of something real, something undeniable. I created a new email account, something simple, clean, just my name with no middle initials or numbers. I stared at the blank message screen for a long time before typing. Hi, Mia. I just saw your messages. I never replied to your offer someone else did, pretending to be me. I'm still here, still designing, still interested. Attaching a portfolio, some new work, some old. It's not perfect, but it's honest. Thanks for thinking of me, Jamie. I hesitated for maybe 5 seconds, then hit send. It wasn't about getting the job. It was about saying, I'm not gone. The bakery stayed quiet most of that day, save for the occasional local stopping in for bread or coffee. Lorraine barely spoke, but would occasionally glance at me with a quiet kind of approval, like watching a skittish animal return to its legs. She handed me a mixing bowl and showed me how to knead dough by feel, not measurement. The rhythm helped. It gave my hands something to do while my mind kept cycling through every moment I'd second-guessed myself over the past year. I'd spent so long apologizing for making other people uncomfortable, shrinking so I didn't seem too emotional, too sensitive, too much. Natalie always said I overreacted. Chase said I spiraled when things didn't go my way. But now I saw it. They didn't want me to be okay. They wanted me to be silent. After dinner, roasted vegetables and thick slices of fresh bread, we sat on the back porch with mugs of peppermint tea, watching the rain roll off the eaves. Lorraine asked me, "You want to say what happened?" I shook my head. Not yet, but I want to write it. She nodded and disappeared into the house, returning with a legal pad and a ballpoint pen. Start wherever it hurts. I wrote for hours. The story didn't come in order. It came in fragments, the van pulling away, the fake emails, the video, the silence that followed. I didn't try to sound brave. I didn't soften it for clarity. When I finally stopped, my hand was cramping, but I felt clear, not fixed, not better. Just rooted in something solid for the first time in months. Before bed, I posted a short video. Just me sitting at the bakery counter, no music, no edits, no names. Sometimes people try to erase you, not with violence, not even with words, but with silence. With a smile, with a fake message sent in your name. If you're watching this and it's ever happened to you, I just want you to know you still exist. Even if they tried to write you out, I didn't expect much. I turned my phone off and slept deeply for the first time since the cliffs. The next morning, it had over 10,000 views, hundreds of comments, people sharing their own stories, exes who erased them from shared drives, siblings who spoke for them in family group chats, coworkers who undermined them quietly and got away with it. I didn't respond to all of them. I didn't have to. I'd said what I needed to say. Around noon, a familiar name appeared in my inbox. Jamie, thank you for reaching out. That response didn't sound like you, and I'm glad you followed up. Let's talk soon. I'd love to still work together. Mia. I let the message sit for a moment before smiling, a real one this time. In the afternoon, Lorraine handed me a flower smudge sticky note. Write this down, she said. It's a lawyer I know in Oakland. Helps people clean up digital messes. I stared at the number. You think I need a lawyer? She didn't blink. I think you need someone besides yourself who believes you. That night, I backed up everything. The fake emails, the Slack logs, the screen recordings of Chase's video before it was taken down. I even printed them, carefully folding each into a manila envelope that Lorraine tucked into a plastic bin beneath the flour sacks. You keep this, she said, and you keep baking. We laughed at that, but I knew she meant it both ways. The next morning, I wrote another post. Not a rant, not an expose, just a message to anyone who needed to hear it. I don't need them to say sorry. I don't need to win anything back. I just need to know I exist in my own voice and that I'm not alone. I signed it with my full name, not a handle, not a hashtag, just me. The letter was folded neatly, like someone had taken care not to rip the corners. Lorraine found it early, wedged under the front door of the bakery just before sunrise. She didn't open it, just carried it back into the kitchen the way you might carry a bird that flew into a window. Gently, but like it might still wake up angry. No return address, she said, handing it to me, no stamp. My name wasn't on it, no citation, just 12 words typed in an aggressive Times New Roman. Leave this alone. You've made your point. Don't push it further. No signature, no threat, exactly. Just enough implication to curdle something in my stomach. For a few seconds, I just stood there, started staring at it. My fingers had gone cold. They're watching, I said, the words low in my throat. Still. Lorraine raised an eyebrow. Good, that means they're nervous. She went back to kneading dough. Like this was just another Thursday. I wanted to laugh, but it wasn't funny, not really. It was just so predictable. Natalie and Chase had always used niceness like a shield. It's just concern. We're just worried. We didn't mean anything by it, but this was the first time the glove slipped. It didn't scare me. It pissed me off. I didn't post about the letter, not yet, but I did take a photo of it, then scanned it and dropped the file into my receipts folder. I added a title. Attempted intimidation, 5:47 a.m., bakery doorstep, no signature. By noon, I had opened a private email thread with the Oakland lawyer Lorraine had recommended. Her name was Priya Shah, and her profile photo showed her in a bright yellow sweater, arms crossed like someone who didn't back down from people who use phrases like don't push it. I forwarded her everything. They're trying to erase me? I'm not letting them. Hi, Priya. I've attached screenshots, metadata, and files related to impersonation, professional sabotage, and emotional manipulation from individuals close to me. I don't want to sue. Not yet, but I want this on record. I want it documented. And I want to be prepared. Best, Jamie. She responded 3 hours later. Thanks, Jamie. I reviewed the materials. You've got a solid foundation. I'll prepare a cease and desist draft and recommend a data forensic specialist for further verification. Let me know if you're ready to escalate. Ready. That night, I sat in the back courtyard with the laptop glowing against my knees, staring at the email and wondering how long it would take before Natalie showed her hand. Not long, it turned out. The next morning, my phone lit up with a new message. Hey, I hope you're okay. Maybe someday we can talk. I never wanted any of this to go this far. And it wasn't an apology. It was a setup. I could see the future headline in her voice already, trying to reconnect with my sister, who misunderstood everything. The podcast episode, When Boundaries Go Too Far. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to Priya. 2 days later, the cease and desist letter went out, digital copy and physical copy. Lorraine watched me slip the envelope into the mailbox like I was burying something. In a way, I was. It was the last time I would try to explain myself to someone who'd only ever listen to respond. A few hours after that, a new notification hit my inbox. She CC'd me on a message to her team and the client, confirming I was the rightful creator of the portfolio they'd reviewed weeks ago. She'd attached the metadata Priya had verified, proving the other version was a duplicate repackaged under a fake design label created by someone named R. Chambers, Natalie's married name. I stared at the email, my design, my notes, my layout, just with someone else's logo slapped on top like a fresh coat of theft. They weren't just trying to make me disappear. They were trying to be me. I thought about all the times Natalie had rolled her eyes at my work, called it nice or simple or not that hard, and yet here she was using it, trying to wear it like a second skin. I emailed Mia back, thanked her, told her I was still open to the original project if they'd have me. Then I closed the laptop and walked out to the olive grove behind Lorraine's property. The late afternoon sun filtered through the branches, turning the air gold and green at the same time. I let the quiet settle over me. The version of me that had been abandoned on a cliff, she would have cried, would have wondered what she did wrong. This version of me, she was tired, but clear. Later at dinner, Lorraine brought out a bottle of wine she'd been saving for what she called the right kind of occasion. She didn't say congratulations. She didn't make a speech. She just poured 2 glasses and said, now they know. I didn't toast. I didn't need to. We just clinked our glasses once gently, and I exhaled. Bridgehaven got colder as October edged in. The mornings came with fog, heavy and slow, curling around the rosemary bushes by the bakery like breath. I started waking up before Lorraine, turning on the ovens, prepping the flour, lining trays. My hands remembered how to move without shaking now. There was something sacred in that doing without fearing. Mia's project became official. I was back to designing layouts for an eco lodge in Mendocino, sketches for a small cafe concept in Denver. It wasn't glamorous and it wasn't loud, but it was mine. Every assignment stitched me back together, one draft at a time. I still kept the folder, receipts. Not because I needed it now, but because I wanted the truth to exist somewhere outside my body. Some days I forgot it had ever been different. Then I'd open my email and find another soft edge message from Natalie. Just thinking of you. Hope you're okay. No hard feelings. No mention of the video or the forged email or the stolen work. Just a steady drip of messages that felt like damp paper towels tossed at a wildfire. I didn't respond. I didn't delete them either. I forwarded them to Priya and archived each one under a new label, performances. Then I logged out. One weekend, a local named Jack came into the bakery cradling a basket of olives. I hear you're good with design, he said, almost shy. We're putting together the signage for the harvest route. Thought maybe you'd want in. I blinked. Me? He nodded. And if you're not too busy, we could use an extra hand picking. Nothing fancy. Just honest work. I smiled before I could think twice. I've got 2 hands, I said, and nowhere else to be. So that weekend, I stood barefoot in the middle of an olive grove, dirt between my toes, fingers stained green, the basket slung around my hip like I had done it my whole life. I laughed loudly, messily, startling the birds. Nobody asked about Boston. Nobody whispered mental health like a diagnosis or a threat. Nobody needed a story to explain me. They just handed me a basket and said, we start at dawn. That night, back at the bakery, I returned to the bench outside the kitchen window. The same one I'd sat on the first night, heart broken open, abandoned in the dark. I pulled out the notebook Lorraine had given me and flipped to a fresh page. I wrote, that version of me would never believe we made it here. Underneath, I added, some roots get ripped out, some get replanted on both. The next morning, a message popped into my inbox. We submitted the formal complaint. The legal team in Oakland flagged inconsistencies in the forged documents' names, digital signatures, even the timestamps. I'll keep you posted, but I wanted you to know it's in motion. I read it twice. Not because I was surprised, but because I wasn't. A few hours later, another update came in from a content moderator I reported Chase's video to. The clip was gone, removed from every platform. No statement, no apology, just silence. I didn't need fanfare. I just needed the echo to stop. That night, I sat in Lorraine's office, uploading my latest design files and finalizing bakery minutes we'd rebranded together. She decided to rename the shop Root Rise. We laughed at how corny it sounded until we did it. I created a clean layout, olive branch illustrations, warm, neutral tones, a typist that felt like a whisper and a promise. When it blinked to life on Lorraine's tablet, she clapped like I'd pulled off a magic trick. I owe you, she said softly. I shook my head. You gave me air when I was drowning. I just built something in it. In the weeks that followed, I started contributing to a blog run by a group of expats in Northern California, essays about design, about identity, about what it means to be undone and then rebuilt on. My first piece was called Designing in Silence, How Losing My Voice Helped Me Hear Myself Again. Lorraine printed it out and taped it to the bakery wall. Not long after, I received one final message. I hope you're well. Maybe someday we can talk. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I closed my laptop and placed my phone face down. That evening, I baked fig tarts while the windows stayed open to let in the scent of rosemary and tide wind. The sea air felt heavier now, but not suffocating, just present, just real. Before bed, I curled up on the couch near the back office, notebook open on my lap. I wrote. They tried to bury me with my own roots, but I still have the seeds. I didn't write a conclusion. I didn't need one. I stopped needing their silence to make room for my voice. Now I had my own pages, and they were just beginning,